What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we've got our first of what may very well end up being a weekly series. You see, the lovely folks over on the official Transformers Facebook group, the people who make and run the game, have said, instead of giving ad hoc rulings here and there, we're going to accept rulings at our email address should be on the screen, and then every Friday we're going to update the rulings. So I thought, well, you know what might be fun? If I explain the rulings to you, showing the pictures, showing you the cards, etc., so that you are nice and up to date on the rulings. We are not going to blindly go through all the rulings they shared today. Some of these are a bit more general and really have been covered before. We're going to be focusing on a couple ones that make me a little bit happy, but mostly we're going to be looking at the ones which interact with the new cards that have been revealed from Wave 2, because that is, I think, the most important one. Well, the most important ones, I should say. But we'll start off with a couple that we do need to have a quick look at. First of all, my boy, Force Field. You know I love Force Field by now. I've not made a secret of the fact. And people have asked, essentially, what happens if the target that has Force Field attached takes 4 or fewer damage? Do they lose the force field? And the answer here, it is one of those, I think, read the card dealies. Because if you have a look at force field, it says if you would take 5 or more damage, instead scrap this card and you take 4 damage. So essentially, force field always stays on. The only way it goes away is if 5 or more damage would be done. If 4 damage is done, you take the 4 damage, you keep the force field. The other old one here, what happens if I have Megatron Living Weapon with 2 weapons and an armor, and I play swap parts? Well, Megatron Living Weapon in bot mode has a lovely little skill which says you may have a weapon in armor and utility slot. And then swap parts essentially lets you swap all of the upgrades on 2 characters, but of course there's no other character that can have 2 weapons attached. That's not strictly true. Predaking can. With Predaking, I'm assuming this would work quite nicely because Predaking has 5 weapon slots. Essentially, you just move 1 weapon over. You're not allowed to move the second, ergo the remaining weapon will stay on Megatron. Incidentally, you do have a choice here as to which weapon moves over, even if it isn't actually the weapon in the designated weapon slot. At least it doesn't say that in the FAQ, so that's what I'm assuming is the case. Moving on to the more Wave 2 questions here, are combiners able to flip to their separate alt modes once they are combined? This was mentioned in at least one podcast, but I did think it was worth pointing out here. Once combiners are combined, there's no uncombining them. You get all your Dinobots into Volcanicus, you've got Volcanicus, you no longer have separate Dinobots. There is one way to uncombine a combiner. Finish the game. There we go. So, MOTORMASTER. I looked at MOTORMASTER yesterday in my video about Minosaur, and I really like MOTORMASTER. I think it's an incredibly interesting card. The question that has been asked is, does MOTORMASTER take the damage with his alt mode effect? So MOTORMASTER in alt mode basically reads, your other characters cannot take non-attack damage from your opponent's cards. So if they play something like a Bolt of Lightning, for instance, which would do 3 damage, they cannot do it to your other cards. Well, what about MOTORMASTER? Again, I think this is fairly obvious on the card, but it is nice to have the confirmation. The answer is no. It does not get the protection, so MOTORMASTER does take the damage with his alt mode effect. But he doesn't take damage meant for other characters, so if something like a Photon Bomb were played, your other characters wouldn't take 2 damage, but MOTORMASTER would. Now, we know that as of Wave 2, you now are allowed to flip over characters that are in your KO area, which of course is extremely important because I Still Function brings one of your characters back for 1 turn with 1 health remaining, but it brings them back in the mode in which they were KO'd. Similarly, if we look at the Enigma cards, which are needed in order to get a combiner going, you can only play an Enigma card and get a combiner if you have all of your combiners in bot mode in the KO area or on the field. So you've got to be able to flip them. We know that you can flip these characters using your flip for the turn. The question is, can you flip it using action cards like Rapid Conversion? And the answer, as we suspected, is no. This was actually my question. Yay! No, cards cannot affect cards in the KO area unless specifically stated. So frankly, ladies and gentlemen, unless the card actually says you may flip a character in the KO area, etc., you cannot do this. Rapid Conversion can only be used to flip characters which are in play. So if you want to flip characters which are in your KO area, you've got to do so using your flip for the turn. Incidentally, that still makes Rapid Conversion a better card, because if you're using the flip for the turn to flip the characters in the KO area, might be an idea to have Rapid Conversion to flip your characters on the field that you're not flipping, because you're flipping ones in your KO area. And a very related question, which again we thought we knew the answer, but it's nice to have the confirmation. If a character flips in the KO area, do you get the ability when a character flips to this mode? So let's say, for argument's sake, let's go Megatron Arrogant Ruler, the card that I revealed. When you flip to this mode, you may play an upgrade. So if you flip that in the KO area, can you play an upgrade? No. You do not get to use skills. I believe this was previously stated on a podcast, but it is nice to have it out there officially on the FAQ. And then there was a more specific question: does transforming a car mode character in the KO pile activate Cliffjumper's alternate mode ability? So if we take a little bit of a look at Cliffjumper here, then when you flip one of your other cards to bot mode, draw a card. Now this isn't actually a skill on the flipped character, it is a skill on a character in your battle area affected by a character in your KO area. That doesn't work either. Nice and simply, you can now flip your characters in the KO area, but only using your flip for the turn, and no abilities activate unless a battle card says you can do something else, or the character says that it works in the KO area. There we go. Now, the biggest question that a lot of us had: Grimlock. The new Grimlock, which says when you attack with it, you can play a Dinobot that you own from outside the game into your KO area, but with full damage on. So the question was, can you use this to get other Dinobots? I.e., can you use this to fetch the Wave 1 Dinobots, the ones which do not combine into Volcanicus? We all hoped the answer was yes. The answer is yes, ladies and gentlemen. You can. And of course, and we'll do a video on this in the very near future, but we're all thinking Dinobot Sludge here. So you get Dinobot Sludge into the KO area, you use I Still Function to put it into play with 1 health remaining, and then you can heal your 56 health Volcanicus, which is a bit dumb. Here's a question I hadn't considered. Can you use Grimlock to fetch Grimlock? I.e., can you use Grimlock Powerful Commander to get another Grimlock Powerful Commander? Yes, you can! And then in theory, you could use I Still Function to have 2 on the field at once, or even a combination of Brainstorm and I Still Function to have 3 on the field in one go, which is nuts and crazy and weird. But it's also really important because you've got to use Grimlock to get your other Dinobots into the KO area, because you need 5 Dinobots to use Volcanicus and you can only put 3 in your deck. You've got to use this, and it's quite nice to potentially have a second one. Obviously, when you put them in the KO area, you bring them back with I Still Function, which is huge with Grimlock. You can have multiple Grimlock. How weird is that? My other question that I asked, and I did tell you I would look into this, and I did. When I play cornered and force my opponent to flip one of their characters, do they get to use a when you flip to this mode ability? So we looked at Cornered very recently, and it basically said you can make your opponent flip one of their characters from bot mode to alt mode. And I suggested you probably wouldn't be able to use the ability. I was wrong, ladies and gentlemen. You absolutely can, which adds a whole new layer of strategy to using the card Cornered. So take Insecticon Scrapnel, you can make them flip into alt mode, which you'll often want to do because you lose a ridiculous skill which guarantees they only take 3 damage from an attack. But then, because you flip to the mode, you can KO one of your Insecticons and tap an enemy that has 13 or fewer stars. So now you can be trying to take out Scrapnel. You can't KO it in bot mode because of the skill, so you play Corner to flip it into alt mode, but then the Scrapnel player can KO one of their Insecticons, tap the character that you were going to use to KO it, and then Scrapnel lives to fight another day. There's a million different uses for this, but Corner just got one heck of a lot more interesting. And then the final question I think we need to look at today. Would Thrust grant +5 to Optimus Prime Battlefield Legend if Rapid Conversion was played when using Prime's bot mode ability? So this is a slightly more complicated one. So Optimus Prime Battlefield Legend has an ability in bot mode. When you're flipping battle cards for attack, but before the defense flips, you may play one of the actions you flipped. Rapid Conversion would then pop it into alt mode. Now, of course, Thrust here has a really nice skill that essentially says you can tap it and then add its attack to one of your other characters. Pretty good, right? The thing is, you've got an attack of 3 in that mode, but if you go into bot mode, you've got an attack of 5. So can you use Optimus Prime to use Rapid Conversion, use Thrust's ability, then get Rapid Conversion going with Optimus Prime's attack, flick Thrust into bot mode, and then you've actually got 5 rather than 3? No. You essentially announce Thrust's ability, hey Optimus, I'm giving you a +3. Optimus goes, cheers boy, and then starts the attack. Even if you flip over Thrust using Rapid Conversion, doesn't matter. You're still only getting the +3, because by that point the skill has been used, you've had the +3. I love that Transformers is starting to do this. We are going to be doing this every week as long as there are rulings worth doing, because especially with things like Grimlock and Cornered, we needed these rulings. And I'm sorry if this sounds like I'm being a little bit of a suck-up right now, but how awesome is it that we've got a company releasing these cards, showing us these cards, and then within a week answering any ruling queries we had about it, rather than having to wait until some future date. Not many card companies do this, ladies and gentlemen. We should feel very lucky that the Transformers team do. So, tell me what you think about these rulings, and of course, if you've got any rulings you want answered, make sure you email Wizards. But for now, make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, and follow me on Twitter @Wossy, where we talk about Transformers and other card games. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wossy Plays.